What is that? Is that a wolf? It is. Listen to that. Wow. Isn't that great? Wow. Majestic to some, yet encroaching and threatening to others. Good evening, and welcome to the Gray Wolf Symposium and the delisting relative to the Endangered Species Act. Let me ask you a question. Given the choice to live or die, what would you choose? Well, without question, the majority of us would choose the former. However, in the time and place that we live today, the gray wolf has not been afforded the same opportunity. Reflecting, the air in Yellowstone National Park is chilly at the crack of dawn, even as far back as the month of August. And this in mind, it is very difficult to spot a wolf right now. These remarks provided by Mark Cook, President of the Wolves of the Rockies. A recent study, that's right, a study, revealed a count in Yellowstone National Park of 95 wolves traveling in 11 packs. This time last year, the number was nearly double. Within the last 3 years alone, approximately 1,500, that's right, 1,500 wolves have been killed by wilderness services, hunters and trappers in the states of Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho. The dramatic decline in wolf density within and surrounding areas of the park is mainly due to the natural ebb and flow of the ecological system, where hunters can now legally shoot any wolf found straying outside the confines of the park. As winter approaches, the gray wolf is naturally driven to adjacent territories in efforts to find food for its young. This is in view of the onslaught of deep snows which are customary in Yellowstone National Park. And during these ventures, the gray wolf runs across various enemies that result in devastating decreases within their own population. Despite the fact that many of these same wolves are earmarked with radio collars from the United States Fish and Wildlife Service. Under provisions currently being proposed and indirectly supported by the United States Fish and Wildlife Service, wolves have indiscriminately been targeted for delisting in the Endangered Species Act. This in mind, we'd like to think collectively that at least the wolves within the park are protected. Nothing can be farther from the truth. For you see, cattlemen, big game hunters, and politicians alike are lined up to acquire a license to legally shoot a wolf on sight. Sad. We must ask ourselves, who really is the beast? Now, considering this fact, who in the audience would care to guess how much such a license would cost? $100, $200, maybe $300? Not at all. A mere $13.59 for in-state residents. And $35, that's right, $35 for out-of-state residents. Wolves have been stereotyped as the villain of all ills, when in fact their existence is quite the opposite. Wolves, although the apex predator within the environment, are essential to the ecosystem. And since the reintroduction in 1994 into Yellowstone National Park, have culled overpopulated herds of mule deer and elk. The same mule deer and elk that were continually eradicating ground cover. The ground cover that was necessary for smaller animals. And due to this culling, the same verdant ground is quickly recovering. And as a result, recolonization of these smaller animals is quickly returning as well. These animals rely on that low foliage for cover and food. You could argue that the gray wolf has affected everything throughout the system, from fish to invertebrate to reptiles, and yes, even mammals, even other mammals, as explained by the chief Yellowstone National Park biologist Doug Smith. There are numerous positions relative to the long-term survivability of the gray wolf. However, with mankind, as shown throughout his existence, is driven by indifference. We all know that. And it is for this very reason that we all collectively should remember phrases such as Proverbs 12:10, a righteous man cares for the needs of his animal, but the kindest acts of the wicked are cruel. Men, as assigned by the Lord Jesus Christ, have been appointed caretakers of this earth, thereby ensuring the gray wolf and all other animals' well-being and long-term existence. Is anyone in the audience familiar with the reasoning or the contributing factors driving the delisting of the gray wolf from the Endangered Species Act? Anyone? Anyone care to take a stab at that? Venture a guess? No? Well then, there are three. Count them. 1, 2, 3. 3 contributors. Number 1, cattlemen and their interests. Number 2, big game hunters and their interests. And 3, but certainly not least, politicians and their interests. That in mind, let's discuss them. Number 1, ranching interests. In 1995, 66 wolves were reintroduced into Idaho's Yellowstone National Park, whereby recent studies have revealed 1,651 wolves in 111 breeding pairs in the same territorial area. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has now employed a state-mandated plan to eradicate, do away with 300 wolves in 30 breeding pairs. Fish and Wildlife Services last year alone reported predation from wolves in the state of Montana, accounting for 84 cattle and 64 sheep. Montana's cattle population in the same exact time period stood at 2.5 million. That's right, 2.5 million head. Wolves killed by Wildlife Service officials or private citizens numbered 260. Number 2, big game hunters. Smoke a pack a day. No, we're not talking about cigarette users. This is a direct quote by a private sponsored hunting club in the state of Idaho, whereby wolf hunts are sponsored throughout the state and the year in support of mule deer and elk repopulation. Number 3, my favorite, political seats. Would you turn the welfare of a gray wolf over to a cattle rancher? Such is the case as Interior Secretary Ken Salazar, a 5-generation cattle rancher, approved on 14 January 2009 a Bush administration rule to remove the endangered species protection from the Rocky Mountain region sector. This action, coming less than 14 years from the time that the gray wolf was introduced in the states of Wyoming and Idaho. These actions were just taken despite the fact that volumes of scientific data was submitted whereby the delisting of the gray wolf was premature and irresponsible on behalf of all the political forums involved. So, considering the gray wolf has historically and up to this very day had to manage dire circumstances due to human involvement, how can we as individuals improve the circumstances? Following are but a few suggestions whereby each of us can harmonically coexist till we meet again.